I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
We're sparring.
That's what we need.
We're sparring.
Warm up.
Some
I know
8-year-olds.
one thing,
I got the 8-year-olds in there.
If I find out anything, I'm gonna beat your ass, and I'm gonna beat Jaden on Love. On my mama, I'm gonna beat both of y'all ass.
For them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from.
The tension between Gervonta Tank Davis and Jake Paul has finally exploded. Davis reportedly erupted in fury after Paul boldly claimed he would knock him out within 3 rounds, a taunt that instantly turned the upcoming showdown from spectacle to grudge match. Insiders say this fight carries enormous stakes for Davis. A 3-division world champion with elite credentials rarely steps into a ring against someone many label an entertainer first and a boxer second. For a fighter of Davis's pedigree, defeat, especially to Jake Paul, would trigger headlines questioning his legacy and judgment. But the flip side is just as dramatic. If Davis conquers the size, reach, and power advantages that Paul brings, it won't just be another win, it will be a statement. A victory that reminds the world that no matter how big the hype, skill and discipline still rule the sport of boxing.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you, you can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch a lightweight, can drop a heavyweight. There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Aldrey, the champion, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot that he still hasn't earned?
Jake Paul, on the other hand, is not treating this as a simple payday or exhibition. He's aiming for history. Declaring that he'll deliver the knockout of the year, Paul's confidence has reached new heights. He's chasing validation not from social media followers, but from boxing purists who still refuse to see him as a legitimate fighter. In his own words, this is his chance to shock the world, silence skeptics, and create a highlight that will live forever in fight lore. By predicting a spectacular knockout, Paul is doubling down on his brand, a mix of showmanship, power, and bold self-belief. For him, this is more than victory. It's vindication.
Fighters. Because this thing is going to be watched by hundreds of millions globally. Jake, give the people one thing that you can guarantee that they're going to get on November 14th when they tune in to Netflix.
Yeah, you're going to see the 2 biggest fighters in America go head-to-head with an amazing card. World championship fights back-to-back-to-back. And that's just how the MVP way we do it. And I'm going to come for a knockout of the year again. I've seen it in my visions. I've seen it in my manifestation. I'm sleeping this guy and going to create the most viral knockout ever.
Fellow boxer Rolly Romero has weighed in, saying that even if Jake Paul somehow knocks out Gervonta Davis, it wouldn't erase Tank's greatness. He reminds fans that Davis is a 3-division champion, a man who's conquered multiple weight classes with surgical precision and raw power. In interviews and Instagram reels, Romero defended Tank's legacy, emphasizing that one loss doesn't undo years of discipline, dominance, and world titles. Legends have bad nights, he said, but greatness isn't defined by one fight, it's defined by everything you've built before it.
Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them.
Will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him. Bro, you can't be mad at somebody for doing what they feel is best for them. It's the same way Roach feels Tank is the best option for him. Same way that Stevenson thinks Tank's the best option for him, or like all that stuff, right? At the end of it, bro, we just want to do what's best for ourselves, right?
Facts.
Right or wrong.
Facts.
So just do what's best for you.
Romero later expanded on his stance, saying that Davis doesn't need to prove himself against Jake Paul, his accomplishments already speak volumes. Still, he acknowledges that the physical mismatch is real. Paul's size, reach, and natural frame give him tangible advantages, and ignoring that would be foolish. But Romero's main message remains: no matter the outcome, Tank's reputation as a generational talent won't vanish. He's already solidified his place in the sport's modern era.
Big for him, but like Jake Paul might be too big for him, or Tank might crack him. You don't know. Like I said, like, or it's an exhibition. We don't know if they throw at each other or not, or we don't know. I don't know. I can't give an opinion because I don't know what's going on.
Do you think it impacts, like, will it impact Tank's legacy if Jake Paul were like to beat him or even like knock him out?
Dude, Tank's a 3-division world champion, 4-time 3-division world champion. At the end of it, bro, you can't take anything away from him.
When Daniel Cormier, the former UFC champion and respected analyst, learned that Davis had agreed to fight Jake Paul, he was visibly shocked. In a viral clip, Cormier called the matchup ridiculous, questioning why a world-class fighter like Tank would risk everything in a crossover spectacle. To Cormier, it felt like a mismatch, both in skill and purpose. He pointed out the glaring weight and power differences and wondered aloud if this fight could blur the line between athletic legacy and entertainment.
I swear to God, I was on a plane coming home from Las Vegas when Luis told me Gervonta Davis is fighting Jake Paul. I said, get the bleep out of here. I said, you're a bleep liar. Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Tank Davis. There's one problem. He fights at 135 pounds. Gervonta Davis is that much better than Jake Paul at boxing. But Gervonta Davis in his last fight weighed 133.8 pounds. And I'm not over here in the business of just crapping on Jake Paul. I am much more respectful of what he's starting to build as a professional boxer. You're fighting a guy that's better than you. He's just much smaller. But that guy, because he's better than you, what if he wins? Everything Jake Paul has done is wiped completely out. Gervonta Davis loses to Jake Paul. Obviously, it's going to hurt who Gervonta Davis is, but he lost to a guy that's going to be upwards of 70 pounds bigger than him when he steps into the boxing ring. But I will tell you this right now, without a shadow of a doubt, I will watch this. Tank Davis is 30-0-1. You want to talk about Jake Paul fighting a real boxer? That's a real boxer. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's true. They're fighting.
KSI, another influencer turned boxer, also chimed in, but from a different angle. He criticized the culture of hype-driven fights, saying that crossover boxing has become a business of storylines more than skill. In a recent video, KSI accused Jake Paul of manipulating narratives, creating drama to sell fights instead of focusing purely on boxing merit. According to him, these events risk turning boxing into an extension of influencer culture rather than preserving its spirit as a disciplined sport.
AJ and Jake was never gonna happen.
I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
You thought it was actually gonna happen? Bro, it's so crazy. Like, I feel like so many people just believe everything online.
But that's pretty unbelievable on the other hand.
I feel like I know, well, okay, how do I say it like this? Atoma versus White. I had a lot of people bet on White winning. And I'm there like, you guys don't watch boxing, do you? You just look at a record and go, oh, Dylan's fought many more people than Atoma. That record says a lot. Atoma's like 18, not 18, Atoma's 20, inexperienced, One. Like, I just knew Atoma was gonna just destroy him. And I think a good fight for Itoma would be him and Wilder.
Veteran journalist Gareth A. Davies took an even harsher stance. He described Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis as yet another example of boxing sacrificing substance for spectacle. Davies argued that the large weight disparity, coupled with the exhibition-style format, undermines the integrity that defines real competition. It will attract attention, he said, but at what cost? While he acknowledges the business appeal, he worries that constant crossover events chip away at the credibility of boxing as a serious sport.
I think we've gone out of the frying pan and into the fire because we thought we were going to get Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua very soon. We'll speak to Frank Smith about that in the next section, obviously. Eddie Hearn was teasing it to me personally last week. £80 million on the table for Anthony Joshua to fight Jake Paul. But 8 inches in height difference, 7 weight divisions between them, 5 stone, 70 pounds between them. It's a joke. It's a circus fight as opposed to a disgrace of a fight, which was Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. At least you feel in this you've got quite a poor, very big one against a pound-for-pound, brilliant, unbeaten little un. And the little un who'll come up to his navel will hit him with a lot of body shots. I said in the week to Danny Kelly and Charlie Brooker that, do I mean Charlie Brooker? No, Baker. Charlie Baker. That Charlie Brooker's a different person altogether. That he'll be throwing the Superman punch, the leaping left hook. It's going to be a very odd thing. It's called, in inverted commas, an exhibition bout. But everybody in boxing who is a name doesn't mind going in with Jake Paul because they know they're making millions of dollars. And that's the only reason that Gervonta Davis, who's being called the poison little elf by Jake Paul, and it'll be fun in the build-up. Everybody in boxing knows they're guaranteed to make millions of those silverbacks, those greenback notes that they give out in America, and they give them out for fun when Jake Paul fights. So he's not going to say no to it. But can you pick a winner in that fight?
Interestingly, Davis himself has spoken candidly about what worries him most going into the fight. He admits Jake Paul's power is something he needs to test early. Paul's reach, size, and physical strength are all new variables Tank hasn't faced before. He's also acknowledged Paul's unorthodox movement and mental resilience, qualities that have rattled past opponents. Davis knows he must adapt quickly when the bell rings. But despite these concerns, he insists he'll rise to the occasion. November 14th, he said, I'll show what separates fighters from entertainers. Supporters of the matchup see it differently, not as a gimmick, but as the evolution of boxing itself. They argue that Jake Paul has drawn millions of new, younger fans into the sport, audiences who might never have watched a fight otherwise. Paul represents entertainment, digital culture, and crossover energy. Davis represents raw talent, authenticity, and legacy. Together, they embody the clash between the old guard and the new era of boxing.
Years in the making, when a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they are putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix.
Does Jake Paul have that concerns you?
What concern me? His power. Gotta test his power. Gotta test his just everything, to be honest. I never been in the ring with Jake, so I could say a lot, but when it comes down to November the 14th, I gotta be in there with him. I gotta be able to, his arm reach, his size, his power, the way he move and things like that. I just gotta adapt, as I fight him come.
Nikisa Badarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, addressed the ongoing debate about size, skill, and legitimacy. He brushed off concerns about Paul's physical advantage, saying, "Size doesn't beat skill." According to him, Paul only pushed for a heavier catch weight because he's less experienced and needs comfort on fight night. Badarian also revealed that this fight has been in the works for quite some time. It was originally set in motion after a planned bout between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez collapsed. When that fell through, the path to Davis opened up, and Tank reportedly had been asking for the matchup for years.
Bro, Jake and Tank are gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, it's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's gonna be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight, and people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing, and has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. And now you get to see if that's real. Thank you, man.
Badarian went further, detailing how the fight came together. Yes, Paul is bigger, taller, and longer, but Davis is the more polished professional by far. A decade in the sport, world titles in multiple divisions, an undefeated record, and an arsenal of knockouts, Tank brings a depth of experience Paul simply doesn't have yet. Critics online accuse Davis of chasing money instead of legacy, arguing that he's avoiding big-name rivals in favor of easier, lucrative fights. But supporters counter that Tank's resume already speaks for itself. He's beaten elite competition across divisions, built an undefeated streak, and proven himself countless times. Suggesting he's ducking challengers ignores the work he's already done.
Don't ever fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay. He was some trash, he was some trash, he ain't did nothing. Hey, that's just what it's gonna be at the end of the day.
The criticism also misses the bigger picture that boxing has changed. Davis has already earned his stripes, multiple world titles, a flawless record, and highlight reel knockouts that echo through the sport's history. Taking a high-profile, crossover fight now doesn't erase that. As Badarian and others point out, modern boxing isn't just about belts, it's about brand, visibility, and influence. And Jake Paul has mastered that game. Paul has shattered pay-per-view records, drawn mainstream audiences, and redefined what it means to be a boxer in the social media age. He's beaten names like Anderson Silva and even stepped into the ring with Mike Tyson, generating massive global attention. When presented with an honorary WBA belt, Paul declined, saying he wanted to earn recognition the hard way. For all the criticism, that gesture earned him a sliver of respect, even among purists.
They'll never give me credit until I have the world championship belt, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. But belts collect dust, and what I've done in the sport is unprecedented. Never will be replicated, and done it in such a short amount of time. Just getting warmed up. They're not going to give me credit, but I don't need the credit from these bozos, to be honest. The credit's in my bank account.
And now, in true Jake Paul fashion, he's already talking about his next target, Anthony Joshua. The announcement sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Many laughed, others admired the audacity. Joshua, a former unified heavyweight champion, represents everything Jake has yet to face: elite pedigree, immense power, and sheer size. Most experts dismiss the idea as unrealistic. But Paul's track record shows he thrives on the impossible. The bigger the mountain, the louder the climb.
One, anytime, any place, against all odds. And I like my odds. First, I'm gonna kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. Okay, so you have to think that the last one, first I'm gonna kill David, referring to Gervonta Davis, and then he's gonna go on and slay Goliath, referring to Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, and
he's gonna go and fight a 140er, and then move up 135er, and then move up and fight a heavyweight.
So the lowest he's been, I went through all the fights. For his first two fights, his first two pro fights, he was 175. Now this is all the way back in 2020 against Nate Robinson. Since then, the lowest he's been, as you said, was like the 185 around the Nate Diaz fight, and also for Tommy Fury. I wonder if Jake can get down to that weight anymore. But regardless of Jake's weight, I can't fathom how Tank Davis would be anywhere in the realm of what he would be. Like, it just, he won't even be in earshot of what Jake Paul is going to be.
And so, the question remains, is this fight a masterstroke or a monumental mistake? For Gervonta Tank Davis, it's a dangerous gamble, but one that could elevate his legacy if he wins in style. For Jake Paul, it's another bold chapter in a career defined by shock value, ambition, and self-belief. No matter who prevails, one thing is clear, this isn't just another fight. It's a collision of two worlds, legacy versus spectacle, discipline versus disruption, and the entire boxing world will be watching.